when I came to this town. There was nothing that was holding me back. Couple years of running around, you start to question your convictions. Long car, jet black, fast loving, that's a fact. Mind those words that you say. High heel, gold strap, cold heart will pay it back. Mind those games that you play. Back then you were a friend of mine. Everything was black and white. The city life has changed your mind. Expose the gray of your conviction. Long car, jet black, hard loving, break your back. Mind those words that you say. High heel, gold strap, cold eyes won't change the fact. Mind those games that you play. Long car, jet black, fast loving, that's a fact. Mind those words that you say. High heel, gold strap, cold heart will pay it back. Mind those games that you play. Long car, jet black, hard loving, take your back. Mind those
All right. Here we go on a Wednesday. On the check-in on a Wednesday. All right. We're going to be talking about the Nation of Islam, my favorite organization of the 20th century. We're going to be speaking on that. And we're going to delve deep into that because, the Nation of Islam was one of the most progressive black movements ever. I'm going to just kind of say it, one of the most progressive black movements ever of the 20th century. Right? And they definitely deserve an honorable mention. And the Nation of Islam should be used as a blueprint, a lot of the blueprint for where our people are to go next as first Americans. We're going to get off into that. But before I do, in the name of Lord Amen, we share this message with you. I share this message with you in the name of Lord Amen, the supreme and real power, the true Lord. Thank you all for tuning in with me on a Wednesday. I will be here on Friday. Definitely will be here on Friday. Let everybody get a chance to get in. All right. So let's talk about the Nation of Islam. Well, first, before those who don't know me, I'm the intellectual Lord Benjamin Manhattan, and this is Supreme American TV. And we're going to be discussing why did the black Muslims become a nation of Islam instead of a section of Islam. Why? Because there's a lot of sections in Islam. There's 77 different sections of 77 different sections or sects of Islam, Orthodox Islam. Okay, 77 different sects. You got the Shiite, Ahmadiyya, you got all these different splits, just like in the Christian church and in Christianity, you got a whole bunch of offshoots of the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church was the original system of Christianity that was set up. The Catholic Church was the original system. Right? And from there, you had people who didn't want to follow the ways of the church or had an issue with it. So they started breaking off and doing their own thing. And Islam is no different. You have many different sects of Islam, many different sections of Islam. Like I said, about 77 to be exact. Last time I checked, it was about 77. And, the Nation of Islam, which if those of you who don't know, and probably people in the Nation of Islam doesn't know, that the Nation of Islam is a Freemasonic organization. I'm going to say it again. The Nation of Islam is a Freemasonic organization that practices a form of Freemasonic Islam. All you have to do is look at how they're set up, from their temples and things like that. You see their foundation is Freemasonry. They're not like the Orthodox Muslims of the East, rather an American version of a Freemasonic American version of it. That's why you see that they were more Americanized Muslims. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad presented the first Americanized Muslims. Now, people will say that the Nation of Islam had its start from the Moorish Science Temple, right? And I can agree with that. I can agree that a lot of the teachings of Moorish science made its way into the Nation of Islam teaching, okay? The Nation of Islam is connected to the Moorish Science Temple, whether the people in the Nation of Islam like it or not. A lot of the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple are found in the Nation of Islam because the Moorish Science Temple was first. The Moorish Science Temple was first, and they were also based on Freemasonry, because that's what black men did at that time. Black men at that time, so-called black men at that time, they joined the lodge. They were joining lodges. A lot of them went into the Prince Hall thing. Yeah, the Protestants too. Yeah, those are the Christians. But like I said, a lot of them went into Prince Hall and became Masons under Prince Hall, or a lot of them just, ended up following these black movements, these so-called black movements like the Moorish Science Temple and the Nation of Islam. But the thing that captivated a lot of so-called black men into following these teachings was the structure and the order and the discipline that went into the groups. And they were very much the foundation of it was very much Freemasonry, even down to the titles. Because like I said, the Nation of Islam, sometimes they will deny that they are actually Freemasons, They will deny it. They're Freemasonic Muslims, because that's what the Nation of Islam is, Freemasonic Muslims. But you could look in the titles that are Freemasonic titles, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable, right? Master Fard Muhammad, as in worshipful master. Those of you who've been in or been a part of the Masonic Lodge, you know these terms and titles when you see them. You know these terms and you know these titles when you see them, and you can recognize them readily. That the Nation of Islam is using Freemasonic titles, even down to when they used to use the term for their gathering place. They use temple before mosque. They use temple as a connection to the Freemasonic temple. You even look at how they make their prayers. They're standing on a 45-degree angle, right? And again, a lot of it is Masonic in nature, like the MGT is a more Islamic version of the Eastern Stars. The MGT, the FOI is a more Islamic version of the Masonic Men's Order, their Masonry. Okay. And, a lot of their thoughts on the Bible and the Quran are more of a modern day understanding of it, as opposed to biblical or dogmatic type of thing. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad tried to apply the Bible and somewhat of the Quran in more practical usage. I felt it was necessary to do this because I truly understand the need for a structure such as this. This, like I said, is why the Nation of Islam was the best structure for so-called Black people, bar none. And like I said, what stood them apart was that foundation of Freemasonry, right? Because speaking as a person who was a part of the craft and always going to be and have that connection to Freemasonry myself, I recognize the connection. Mm-hmm. I even had a debate with an individual. I'm not going to name the person's name. I had a debate with an individual who is a Moor, and I said that Noble Drew Ali based Moorish science on Freemasonry and some Islam. He based it on that. He said, and like I said, this person disagreed with it, and I'm pointing out all the similarities, and this person still disagreed with it because he's a Moor. So I'm like, a lot of times I don't understand why people have an issue with just saying that, because you can point out a lot of the similarities in Freemasonry and Moorish science and the Nation of Islam teaching. You see, they all link together, the titles and everything. So people were just reusing titles, putting their own spin on things, which is, again, is fine. That's the evolution of things. And, the reason why the Nation of Islam, they didn't want to, or it seemed like they didn't want to be considered another sect of Islam, because this Islam was made specifically for so-called Black people. This Islam that they were teaching was made for Black people. You see, it was handcrafted for Black people on certain levels. That's why Orthodox Islam doesn't work for Black people. A lot of people who left the Nation of Islam after Honorable Elijah Muhammad died, they went into Orthodox Islam. They started growing hair on their face. They didn't really observe no dietary law other than don't eat pork. A lot of them guys was gaining weight, had hair on their face. They didn't look like the clean Muslims that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad presented to the world, the clean American Muslim. A lot of them, when y'all went over into Orthodox Islam, you thought you were doing something on a higher level that, that the messenger didn't cover in what he was teaching you about Islam. No, that Islam was for the Arabs. All of those forms of Islam, those Eastern forms of Islam, was for the Arabs. But the Islam that was given to the so-called, I'm going to use the word so-called Black nation, the Islam that was given to them was handcrafted just for them. It was handcrafted for them. If they would have, even if they would have called it something else and not Islam, it still would have worked out fine. But because our people were still in a religious mindset, and you couldn't do anything with Christianity, as you can see to this day. You can't do anything with black people in Christianity. The idea was to start people, because people were relatively still new to Islam when the Nation of Islam started in 1930. If people were still Islam was still pretty new to a lot of people. Only the exposure they had was like prior to that, the Noble Drew Ali. But Islam was still pretty much a new thing, a fringe thing. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Muslims, they made it more palatable. They had the fezzes and things on, which they got from Moorish science. The fezzes, the big long fezzes. But then after a while, they ditched the fezzes and they just, they wore shorter fezzes and, made it more. They Americanized it more. That was the evolution of Islam, American Islam, that the Nation of Islam pioneered. They pioneered an American form, an American version of Islam. So it wasn't supposed to be linked to Orthodox Islam. It wasn't supposed to be. And that was fine. The only problem was that when the Nation of Islam started changing around their Jumas, which was on Wednesday at one time, they start changing to Friday. They start trying to align themselves with with Arab Islam. That was the issue. When they started to align themselves with Arab Islam, when they start trying to, because at one point in time, they was like, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is their prophet. He's the prophet Muhammad. And he had every right to say that, right? Because he came to the people here. Now, for the Arabs to act like, they had a stronghold on Islam. If you claim to have a stronghold on Islam, and Islam is your way of life and your religion, which I agree with them. Arab Islam is for them. Right? Mm-hmm. Arab Islam is for them. And, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation, they used it as a way to, fix their people, to start to fix their people. You see? It was a way to fix their people in real time. Change the diet of the people, change the dress code, how the men and women took care of each other, the relationship. So it was an all-around overhaul of black people who were following Christianity, who came from being people with no discipline, with no rules, just basically no law, no order, just basically ate everything from pork to all kinds of filthy foods. So definitely the Nation of Islam was it was definitely an asset for the time in which it came. It definitely was an asset. The Nation of Islam, I always say back then in the old days, I would have definitely been a part of the Nation of Islam. Definitely. I definitely would have been Elijah Muhammad, Fard, and all that. I definitely would have been a part of that back in the 20th century. Yeah. And at one point in time, I even said I was going to join the Nation of Islam when I was 18 years old. This is back in 1988. When I was 18 years old, I was going to join the nation. And, I was going to do that until I saw the picture of Fard. I didn't know about Fard Muhammad. I saw the picture of Fard Muhammad and I couldn't rock with it. I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't rock with the whole idea of putting what appeared to be a Caucasian man up over my head as a worshipful master or a god. I couldn't do it. And, they could come and say all the intentions, all they want to, the good intentions of it, and that's fine. The intentions was good, and there was a whole lot of mystery and story behind that. And I'm the type of person, I can't rightfully align myself with something if there's any kind of funny stuff going on with that, like with the image and things like that. The stories didn't add up, because I'm not just one that's going to follow stuff. And as an intelligent person who I know myself to be, I can't just follow things that there's too many questions that can't be answered. You see, I had to understand about the whole connection with Fard, because as far as I was concerned, Elijah Muhammad was God in person. As far as I was concerned, Elijah Muhammad, for that term God, at that time, I always saw him as God in person. And when people told me about the role of Fard and how Fard came from Saudi Arabia supposedly, and all this story about how Fard being born 1877 and all this other business. And I'm like, okay. Upon hearing a lot of that stuff, a lot of the Nation of Islam teaching, quite a bit of it came from Father Divine. A lot of the Nation of Islam teaching was taken from Father Divine. Okay. Now, Father Divine, even though he was pushing a form of Christianity, but he was also a Freemason too. He was a Freemason too, and he was born in 1876, 1877. He was born around 1877. So and upon doing the research on Fard wasn't born. The person who they call himself Fard, they say he was born 1891. That's the actual birth date of Fard, not 1877. So it just seemed like the Nation of Islam took Father Divine's birthday, and attached it to Fard, because Father Divine, here a lot of the teachings of Father Divine in the Nation of Islam. I hear a lot of the teachings of Father Divine. Definitely hear the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple inside of the Nation of Islam. Now, is there anything wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with the fact that the nation took the teachings of dying nations or dying organizations that were passing away? Because for the most part, the Moorish science fell off after Noble Drew Ali died. The Moorish Science Temple fell off, you see, and it had a resurgence like around in the 90s and whatnot, 2000s. They had a little bit of a resurgence, but you had a lot of young guys who basically lost the understanding of why or what Noble Drew Ali was doing or what he was trying to do. So being that a lot of the Moorish science stuff lied dormant for a long time, it became outdated. People wasn't really connecting to it, but the Nation of Islam continued to go on. It continued to have evolutions, with Fard to Honorable Elijah Muhammad to Malcolm X to Minister Farrakhan. So it continued to have, a life. However, as information comes out, as more knowledge comes out, as knowledge increases, there has to be an evolution in the teaching. There's a reason why people are not following ancient religions no more, because you had religions that were around, or ways of life that were around thousands of years ago that are no longer around. They just became outdated. They became outdated after a while. And the problem with our people is we don't know how to either evolve as a people onto a higher knowledge and take what it is that we need and move on, or just, totally, cut something all together. Now, the things to take forward in the next movement, because there's a next movement that's on the horizon. Yeah, there's a next movement. And that movement has to be based on who we are as a nation. You see, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Fardham had it right when they made it a Nation of Islam, because we needed a nation. We didn't need another religious sect. We didn't need another shit. We was already spread out throughout Christianity. They had us down to being damn Baptists, Protestants, Pentecostals, Episcopalians, all these different Christian groups. Some people was Catholics. We was all over the damn place. We was all over the place. So being another sect of Islam would not have unified our people effectively as it did if they would have, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was forming a Nation of Islam. We needed our own nation to replace the, nation that we lost. What was the nation that we lost? What was the nation that we were supposed to inherit? Even more key, what was the nation that we were supposed to inherit? The nation that we were supposed to inherit, the nation that had always been ours, but we lost it along the way. The nation we were supposed to have in the palm of our hands is America. America is our nation. I'm going to say it again. America is our nation. It is our republic. America. Before the Europeans came here, before the Native Americans came here, we were here. We were here as the original Americans, the first Americans. Yes, we were here. And this is our nation. And I never liked the idea. I didn't like the idea of us pretending like America is somehow in alignment or connected to European immigrants, because our people play into that role of making America seem like this is the home or the home of the European immigrants. Keep in mind, they came over here from Europe. So therefore, their status as European does not change. The Native Americans trace their origins back to Siberia. So therefore, this is not their nation. This is not their country. This is not their land. Okay? America is the land of so-called black people, black Americans. It is our land. We are the nation of America. We are that. We are that Republic of America. We are. And I'm talking about nationality-wise, nation-wise. We are the only real Americans here. And because our people were tribal, because our people were very much, divided, which gave the Europeans the power to come in and work and use our division as a way to come in and take hold of this country. Because let me tell you something. They didn't just take hold of this country right away. It took them some time. It took them some time to do away with a lot of the indigenous groups here, the indigenous so-called black groups, because you do know when they talk about the Indians in the 1500s and the 1400s and all that going back, they're talking about our people. They're not talking about the Native Americans. And that's one thing that was always, that will always, off to me, that the Nation of Islam really didn't know the history of our people in America. How you going to be a so-called black man in America and not, or black woman and not know the history of our people in America? The Nation of Islam believe that our people came over here from Africa on slave ships. Okay? They believe that our people came from Africa on slave ships. And I'm like, how is it that your God or your Allah, God in person, forward, set up here and told our people to start? If this man's supposed to be God in person, you mean to tell me that he didn't know our people were American indigenous people? How you Allah, a God in a person, in teaching that our people came over here on slave ships? That's emphatically false. And we're not going to sit up here because, see, the problem with a lot of so-called black people is y'all fall in love with these dogmas and doctrines and these teachings. And because you fall in love with the teaching, because you embrace the teaching, you ignore the reality of inconsistencies in what's being said. You ignore that. You block it out. You block it out. You ignore the consistency in what's being said, whether it's consistent or inconsistent. Our origins in America do not, start with slavery. That's a lie. But the Nation of Islam teaches that. You see, they teach that and talking about we came from someplace else and we Asiatic black people and stuff like that. And I get what they were trying to do. The nation was trying to give us a origin story other than just the whole African slave trade story, because a big part of our history was missing because our people were forbidden by the powers that be here in America. The new powers that came into America, the European, our people were prevented from classifying themselves as American Indian. We were reclassified as American Negroes. They took us from being American Indians, meaning the indigenous people of this land, and they started reclassifying us. You see, they start reclassifying us as American Negroes. You see, somebody said the Yaqub story is getting popular. Well, let me tell you about the Yaqub story. The name Yaqub is Arabic for Jacob. Okay, the name Yaqub is Arabic for Jacob. All right, now who is Jacob in the Bible? The whole Esau and Jacob thing of, again, this is how these biblical stories are linked up. They say, according to the story of Esau and Jacob is supposed to be, in the Israelite teaching, Jacob is supposed to be the so-called black race. Jacob and Jacob, the same person, and Esau is supposed to be the Caucasian people, right? And Jacob had, was it Jacob had, Jacob is who was the father of Israel? Jacob, right? Is it Jacob had 12 sons? You see, Jacob supposedly had 12 sons, but my point is, it all leads back to Israel. Okay. And the Yaqub story, well, their story is that somebody by the name of Yaqub, a scientist, a big-headed scientist, created or is responsible for the creation of white people and other races of people. In other words, he was saying that the original people of the earth were so-called black people. Okay. Let's examine that story for a minute. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that through his teachings from Forward Muhammad, that the original people of the earth were so-called black people. Now, we know this is true because, you know, the original people are always going to have more genetic material, more genetic memory. We have more genetic material than anybody on the planet, from the carbon in our skin, the dominant genetics. We have more of a genetic coding and history, a longer genetic history. Scientists won't even argue with that. We have more of a genetic connection and history to the earth than anybody else. In other words, they acknowledge that we are the oldest people on earth. So-called black people, black Americans, are the oldest people on earth. They've even found DNA connection to people from the South, Southern South Carolina, all that, who still had that genetic material that's considered ancient genetic material, and it's not African. It is not African material. It's not Asiatic material. You see, and this person was found in North Carolina. These are elders from North Carolina who have that genetic material, which is really American, ancient American, going back to Mesoamerican material here. The Olmecs, the Aztec, the Inca, the Mayan. We don't do any research to connect our origins or find our origins in America, because we're sitting here listening to a bunch of made up philosophies, lies, and beliefs about us coming from someplace else. And the Nation of Islam, unfortunately, fed into that lie about us coming from someplace else, and also fed into the lie that the so-called Native Americans are indigenous to America, which is false. So what I'm saying is that the Nation of Islam meant well. They meant well, and they were trying to raise our people. And I understand that they came in a time of belief. They came in a time of belief. They didn't come in a time of pure knowledge, pure reality. They did not. The time in which pure knowledge and reality started coming forward was in the year 2000. You see, that's the time. Prior to that time, everything was based in belief. Everything. Prior to that, because people was talking about the year 2000 and the book of Revelation and things being revealed. So what would be revealed in the world in the year 2000? What would be revealed? What would be so special about the book of Revelation and the revealing of things in the world, and Y2K, how everybody was going crazy, and the going crazy with the onslaught of the year 2000, Y2K, year 2000. What was it about? It was about everything, all secrets, all things prior to the year 2000 being revealed. And part of that was these religious dogmas and doctrines being exposed and being false, made up beliefs, dogmas, doctrines to do what? Mislead the people, keep them moving in a circle to nowhere, instead of moving our people straight ahead as we're supposed to. We're supposed to be moving forward and straight ahead as a people, as opposed to moving in circles. You see, yeah, the story of Yaqub is that this person, Yaqub, I know the story, the Yaqub story very well, that he took, that Yaqub became an evil and wicked scientist, and he basically wanted to breed his own people. So he took black people, right? He took black people and the dissatisfied 59,999,000. They gave that number that he took to an island of Patmos, and he started breeding out the light skin and the dark skin, and he would do all kinds of scientific experiments to get lighter versions of so-called black people. And they, I forget what the process was, that because they said that there was a black germ. This is how Elijah Muhammad told. There was a black germ and there was a brown germ. And we say that black people had that. The germ is another way of saying what germ, like genetic, like a genetic. He said we had within us a black germ and a brown germ. And he said Yakub, being a scientist, separated the black germ from the brown germ. And then from there, he was able to go lighter and lighter from the brown germ, right? Or the genetic, or the genetic structure. They just use the term germ. And he kept breeding out darker skinned people until he got a lighter skinned race of people on this island called Patmos. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the story. All right. But there's too many holes in that story. There's too many. Yeah. Germ, gene. Yeah. Germ is another way of saying gene. But there was too many holes in the story. What was the holes in the story? Because according to the Nation of Islam teaching, that so-called black people originally had straight hair, and then we went into Africa and our hair became nappy and coarse and dry and got tangled up and whatever the case may be. Now, that y'all remember, that's the story. So these people stayed on this island of Patmos for 8,400 years, 8,400 years, I think. And that's from that 8,400 years, they were able to breed white people. That was the last people, the degenerate people that they said they bred from this Yakub experiment. Now they would come out, the Nation of Islam would come out and teach this, and you had white people up there. Some of them believed it, and you believed that. And you had a group of racists. I don't know. They was calling themselves Yakub sons. They called themselves in jail. Kid you not? It was a group of white dudes that was, I guess you would call them so-called supremacists. They was calling themselves Yakub sons. I remember that because they was trying to find out what their origin was also. But the only problem with that story is that, you can't take dominant genetics and make them. You can't take recessive genetics and make it dominant, because you said that our people originally had straight hair and then it got nappy or thick or whatever. Of course, that's not how genetics work. Again, you can take something that's dominant and reduce the dominance in it and make it recessive, but you can't add, because our hair is considered to be dominant hair. Our hair, is considered to be dominant hair, whereas the Caucasian, the Asian, the East Indian, all those people got the same kind of hair. That's actually fur. Okay. Now, how did the humans get fur, that they call in hair, which is actually fur, like the animals? How did the humans get fur? Answer: because obviously there was a genetic splicing of our genetic material and animal genetic material to create an animal type of man, or a man animal, or a mammal. There had to be a genetic splicing. Now, people say, oh, that sounds crazy. People splicing genetic materials of our people with animals to get the other races of people. That's very plausible. Very plausible. You know how? Because your Caucasian scientists today will say, and they can't explain how it is that human beings have mitochondria DNA from a so-called black woman, and also how they have rhesus monkey genes. How do they have rhesus monkey genes in their genetics amongst the humans, amongst the Caucasians, the Asians? They have rhesus monkey genetics. And in fact, don't scientists today refer to human beings as a form of animal, a species of animal? Yes or no? Do scientists today refer to human beings as a species of animal? Yes or no? Huh? I want to make sure we all on the same page, because I don't want people to say, oh, what I'm saying is BS, that white people and all the other races of people are half animal and half man, which they actually are. They're half animal, half man. Thus the term mammal, which explains why they have fur instead of actual hair. We're the only ones that got hair. They got fur like the animals, which is why they get fleas and ticks in their head, which is why they have a very aggressive nature, which is why they tend to, not all, I'm not going to say all, but a good number of them tend to lean toward bestiality. Obviously, you have to have some sort of connection with an animal, even down to the dog, where a lot of the women lay down with, they feel okay with laying down with an animal sexually, because obviously you have some sort of connection. Okay. Now, how does the Yakub story account for the animal genetic material within the human race, within the so-called Caucasians and everybody else? Because I've noticed they'll talk about the Caucasians, but they don't talk about the Asiatic people, the Asians. They don't talk about the other groups of people with straight hair like the Caucasians. It seems like they just talk about the Caucasians. The nation, they have more respect for the Asians, but they're all the same people. The Asiatic people are the same people. Now, they kept saying so-called black people are Asiatic people. No, they're not. The original people, the original so-called black people are Americans. The oldest genetic material in America is found was a so-called black woman. So we had our own evolution, our own evolution here in America. We didn't come from any place called Africa. I don't know why people think that it's impossible that a group of people started here in America and cultivated things here in America. That was our people. You see, that was our people. But does the Yakub story explain how the humans, when I say the humans, because what I'm about to say, does the Yakub story explain how the Caucasians, the Asians, and the Hindus and all those people have straight hair like animals? They have straight hair like animals, and they have issues, and they have to use flea and tick medication. They have to use flea and tick medication in their hair. They are prone to get lice in their hair. Now, why would lice? We don't, so-called black people don't get lice in their hair. Why? Because the lice and those ticks and lice, they only recognize and want to burrow into the heads of that which they consider to be animals. So they consider, by the fact that they will burrow into white people's fur or hair and lay eggs, they lay lice eggs in these people's head. They have to use flea and tick medication in their hair because these fleas and ticks lay lice eggs in their hair. And and obviously the fleas and ticks can, they sense that animal DNA in the humans. That's why they do that to them, and they don't do that to us. You see, they recognize the animal genetic, but the Nation of Islam doesn't explain that. You see, so the Yakub story is incomplete. The Yakub story is just that, a story, because when you address certain things concerning, the origins of the human race, where did they come from, the origins of the so-called white race, because it's about the races of man on earth is more than just what you call Caucasian people. Caucasian people are the last of the Asiatic people. That's why they're called Caucasians. And they went so far as even in the Nation of Islam talking about how, the Caucasians are linked to the Caucasus Mountains. Yeah. So if they were running around on all fours like animals, fornicating with animals, then obviously they have animal genetics. Doesn't that not make sense? If they got fur like an animal, obviously they have animal genetics in them. If their scientists are referring to them as a species of animal, obviously they have animal genetics. So how did Yakub get animal genetics? If this was even a real person, which it wasn't. There's no Yakub. There's no Yakub. Okay. Now, the Nation of Islam, they were talking about experiments that were taking place to create the human race. Now, that's true. There was experiments to create the human race from a higher species, a higher race of people on Earth. Who is that higher race of people who obviously had to be doing these experiments? It had to be so-called black people. It had to be so-called black people who we refer to as the Amun race, the first race of people on Earth. And they created the human race from their image and after their likeness. And they used animal genetics because they used animals because animals were considered to be obedient at one time to our people who were the masters of the earth. Animals were considered to be obedient. Okay. So our genetic material was that those scientists back then, because there was scientists back then, they found laboratories and stuff like that, makeshift laboratories. Science is nothing new. I'm saying nothing new under the sun. Science is not new to the planet. It was all people doing scientific experiments and things like that back then. We were doing genetic splicing, gene splicing and whatnot to create a subservient race of people. So the people back then, the so-called black people back then, who we refer to as the Amun race, created the human race to be a subservient race unto them, and it backfired. They created a subservient race. Okay. The Yaqub story sound good, but there's too many holes in the Yaqub story. And if you're saying that a higher race of people created another race, then that means that these people are not the same species. If you're saying that the human or that the white race was created and they was all the other people who are not so-called black are not the original people are the so-called. So if you create something other than the original, then that's something totally different. So we can't be the same race, meaning the same species. Y'all follow that? Are we all on the same page? We can't be the same race and species if there was a time when they were not here. We are part of the original bloodline of this earth. So-called black people are part of the original, are the original bloodline of this earth. And if we created something that came out of us that was not here, then that's something totally different. We're not the same anymore. We're not the same. We created something else. You see? All right. Did everybody catch what I'm saying? Huh? It doesn't matter. Again, so I said, was Muhammad Ali really Muslim, or was he just walking advertising for the Nation of Islam? Yeah, he was Muslim. Yeah, Muhammad Ali was a Muslim. He, but he, after a while, he started doing what he wanted to do. Then he got with the Orthodox Islam and stuff like that. But yeah, he was a Muslim. For whatever that means, you can call yourself anything you want and follow a dietary law, but that, and live a certain way of life. But after a while, he wasn't really dealing with the Nation of Islam after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad died. He basically fell out of the Nation of Islam. So, as time went on, our people had bits and pieces of things. So a lot of the things with the Yaqub story was missing. You see? Muhammad Ali vacated his title due to his belief in Islam and the war. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He took a stance against that. But my point being is that, the Nation of Islam was a good blueprint for what's to come after that. Because we're supposed to be constantly evolving. What we learned in the 20th century and going back, that's past and prologue. All we can do is take bits and pieces of that and go forward. You see, that's all we can do is take bits and pieces of what we learn and go forward, because all that was, we all part of that same evolution, but we became something else because I was influenced by the Nation of Islam. I was influenced by Dr. York. I was influenced by all of those groups that came before me. So now when we have our community, the Republic of America, that was formed in the year 2010, because we are truly a new millennial community. We are truly a new millennial community. We've been around 15 years as, we had our evolutions as the Republic of Mentellect. We had our evolutions as all kinds of, but what made sense in this space and time was to become a Republic of America worldwide, to acknowledge who we are as first Americans, because we are actually doing what the Nation of Islam, we're advocating. We're actually doing it. We're becoming a community based on who we are by nationality. Who are Black Americans by nationality. We American. You can scratch the black out. We first Americans. And that's been proven that we are the oldest people on the continent of America. We are the oldest people here. So we the original people here. So to sit up here and talk about Asiatic this and we from Arabia and we from Africa, we here in America. And we've always been here in America. Nobody brought us here. See, this is the problem I have with a lot of these doctrines and dogmas. In order for you to align yourself with them, you have to accept something that's not true, which becomes a belief or a belief. You have to accept a lie, aka a belief. You have to accept a lie to be in alignment with it. I can't do that. We ain't got time to be accepting nobody's doctrines and somebody's made up lies. We need the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We need the complete truth. We don't need half truths, made up stuff, which is what we've been getting. And I'm not saying that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and them and Dr. York and all the people that came, that they were purposely trying to mislead our people. They were doing what they thought was right and teaching our people, but they just didn't have enough knowledge at that time to teach our people. They had just enough knowledge to get our people, by for that time until this time came. And what is this time? The awakening of who we are as first Americans of America, an awakening of who we must become as a people. We got to leave the black thing behind, because if we dealing with reality, we dealing with pure reality. There's no such thing as black people. There's no such thing as black people. That is a label that racist Caucasians gave us to classify us here in America. There's no such thing as black people. There's no such thing as no African Americans, other than the Africans that are coming from Africa into America now. We're not no African Americans. We are Americans, the only real Americans, the real indigenous Americans that these European, many of the European explorers said they saw here in the Americas in the 14 and 1500s as the Carolina Indians. So we're supposed to sit up here and throw away our indigenous heritage in America to believe that we came from someplace else? No, we can't do that. We're not doing that. If people want to do that in the Nation of Islam, if they want to ignore this knowledge that's coming out of who we are as first Americans, the indigenous people of America, which I had a conversation with this brother. I'm not going to name his name because I'm not trying to embarrass the brother, but I was bringing him all these receipts about us being first Americans, indigenous Americans of America. And I said our communities should be based on that, not on no Islam, not on no Christianity, not on some religious belief. It should be based on the reality of who we are as a nation of people in our own nation. This is our nation. America is our nation, is our landmass. This is what we know. And for all them people that want to sit up here and say, yo, brother, we Israelites, or no, brother, we Muslims, then go live in Israel. Go live in Israel. Go live in Arabia if you believe you're Arab. Go over there and live with them. Don't claim to be American. If you saying that we from there, then go back to where you came from if that's what you believe. A lot of so-called Pan-Africanists, a lot of so-called Pan-Africanists are going to not going back to, because you didn't come from there, going to Ghana because of a belief. A lot of our people are being misdirected and misled because of beliefs, not dealing with actual facts. The actual facts is that our people are indigenous to America, not Africa, not Asia, not across the damn water. And again, this is why you can't really debate with people who are, believers. See, because the believers are not thinkers. They refuse to think about reality. They would rather wrap themselves in beliefs, because beliefs keep you moving in circles to nowhere. A belief keeps you moving in circles to nowhere. Whereas when I presented Mentellect to my people in the year 2010, when I brought Mentellect out, and we've been going strong ever since. We had our ups and downs in establishing a next community that was going to be based on pure reality. I said, we're not going to sit up here and say things that don't make no sense, tell stories and whatnot, because we too grown to be listening to a bunch of stories. We too grown to be listening to a bunch of beliefs that are made up, that make no sense. Again, we got to grow up. Everything I said can be logically and rationally broken down. You can't break down the Fard story. You just got to believe the Fard story or believe the Yaqub story. You got to believe that stuff. We are too old to be believing in stuff. We too old to be believing in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and somebody named Jesus who came and died on the cross. Come on, man. Our people got to grow up, man. Our people have to grow up. You see, because staying in a childlike mentality, staying in a belief system where they telling us we got to believe in somebody named Jesus, we got to believe in somebody named Yaqub, we got to believe that Fard came from Saudi Arabia. He was born 1877, and that his father was a black man and his mother was a white woman from the caves, the Caucasus Mountains, or whatever. They said she came from some mountain range. Come on, man. Come on. How you gonna sit up here and tell our people something like that and expect them to accept that? That's a bunch of made up beliefs. Now people will say, brother, well, what you saying is made up. Oh, really? Really? I can logically prove everything I say. I can logically prove everything I say. They can't. And again, this is not meant to be a back and forth thing trying to diss the nation. No. This is about the evolution of our people, bringing us closer to that state of supremacy, raising us up as a race of lords on earth, putting our people in power. That's what it's about. Raising our people up by who they truly are. That's what this is about. This ain't about, oh, nobody's beliefs and doctrines and whatnot, because that stuff slows us down, man. Beliefs that make no sense slow us down mentally. We cannot keep processing things that don't make sense, because when we process things that make sense, it just does nothing but keep us more in a childlike mentality. Black people have a childlike mentality and are seen as childlike to the rest of the nations out here because we don't want to deal with reality. The reality is that we are American. The reality is that we are American. The reality is that we are American, original, first Americans, and we need a community that is based solely on that. The laws and things that we pick up, like in our community in the Republic of America, we are bringing in people who acknowledge that they are first Americans. Our ideology is mentellect. That hasn't changed. Our ideology is mentellect, meaning logical and rational, sensible things, thinking, a thinking man and thinking woman's knowledge. Our community is for the thinking man and the thinking woman. That's the difference between us and all these other groups that came before us. Our community is not based on beliefs. The foundation of our ideology is not based on beliefs. The foundation of our ideology is based on logic. That's the difference between us and all the other groups like the Nation of Islam, Dr. York, and those people that came before us. All of those things are based on beliefs. Ours is not. Ours is based on pure logic, pure rational logic. Okay? So everything that I present as a teacher of the next, which is who we are as first Americans, our nationality, who we are as our, who we are by our ideology, which is mentellect, based in logic, mentalists, who we are as the Armin race. When I say we are a totally different race of people from Caucasians, Asians, all those other people, because we are the original people. We were here before them, before the creation of these people. We walked the earth. We are responsible for their creation, which is an artificial creation in which we took our genetic material and mixed it with animal genetic material to create a whole nother race of people. That happened. And you can look at the genetic material of the human race. The humans are your East Indians, who are your original human beings that were created from that experiment of our genetic material and animal genetic material to create, because the two primary animals that were used to create the human race were your jackals, aka your dogs, and your rhesus monkeys, your primates. Your primates and your canines were used in the creation of the human race. Your canines and primates. That's why when they check the genetic material of human beings, they find primate genetics. Why did Darwin show the evolution of a monkey to a man, and at the end of the evolutionary chart was a Caucasian man? Why was that shown? If they themselves don't believe that they come from animals, they themselves even believe they come from animals. So who are you so-called black people to say otherwise? They know their own genetic material. They still hold Dr. Charles Darwin up as one of their premier geneticists and people who basically linked human beings to monkeys or primates. Now, were they talking about our people? No, they were not, because we were not on the evolutionary chart. The so-called white man is, and he showed himself being connected from a monkey into a man. He showed an evolution. So how could that happen? How do you go from a monkey to a man? Obviously, you had to have the genetic material of a primate in you and that of a real person, a real man in you, another species in you. And that was our genetic material. That's why the humans are able to mix with our people. We're able to have children with them because they have our genetic material, but they also have animal genetic material. So a bit of the animal genetic material, not much, but obviously quite a bit of it was used in the creation of mankind. That's why you have man and then you have mankind. Man was our people that walked the earth first as the Amen race. Thus the term Amen or Amen when they seal off their prayers as a nod to the original people, the first people to walk the earth, the Amen race. And from them, the creation, the Amen race created a subservient race. That's what it's talked about in the Genesis when they're talking about God letting us make man in our image and after our likeness. That's talking about a race of people, the Amen race, the so-called black people of that time, who created a subservient second race, which became your human race. That's the creation of us making man and God. That was all done on earth. Now, logically, does that not make sense? Logically, does that not make sense? Yes or no? Logically, does that not make sense? When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was saying grafted, he meant that they were taking genetic material from themselves and they were taking genetic material from animals, because you can't just get a so-called black person from these two germs or these germs and all this light skin. You're not going to get a Caucasian person from, taking out a gene or you will get a lighter skinned so-called black person, but something else would have to be added. Something else would have to be added to give them that kind of hair, aka fur that they got. Something else would have to be added. So obviously that which differentiates us is the animal genetic was added in them. The animal genetic. Remember I said the canine and the primate were the genetic materials that were added in the creation of the human race. You see, now your scientists today, they do that all the time. What they do, they swap out human hearts for animal hearts, primate hearts. They were swapping out, for animal parts. They were doing that. So how is it that animal parts could fit in some humans if there's not some sort of connection? How is it that scientists are saying that humans are nothing but a species of animal? Why are scientists saying that? This is from their scientists. If people want to say what I'm saying is pseudo, then make sense, because the so-called scientists, the premier scientists of this day, will tell you humans are considered by scientific classification as a higher species of animal. That's it. That's all humans are. They're a higher species of animal. And what makes them higher than the other species, the rest of the animals, is us. Their connection with us, the mental and genetic material connection in us that makes them more, mankind, more upright like us. They have our genetic material in us. They have our genetic material in them. Excuse me. They have our genetic material in them. Mm-hmm. Does that not make sense? Yes or no? Does that not make sense? Yes or no? That there was a scientific experiment that took place in the creation of mankind. Yes, it was. But who were the first people creating mankind? Who were they? That was the Amen race, not human. These people that were creating man were not human. Like, for example, right now, the Christians, the Muslims, the Israelites, they all believe that a God, like a higher power, created man, right? Do they not believe that? Do they not believe that a higher power, that a God created man? Yes or no? Do they believe that? Yes or no? Does everybody in religion believe that a higher power, a God figure or something created man? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, so here's the question. If they believe a higher power created man and woman on earth, then that means that higher power couldn't have been what they are. That higher power had to be a totally different other species than them, a higher species than them. Is that not correct? That people that created them had to be a higher species. All right? That you wouldn't call God human, right? Would you call God a human being, or the creator a human being that created other people? You wouldn't call him a human being. Or if you go with the story of Yaqub is not what those people, he's not the people that he created. They're a lesser version, because he created them. They're going to be a lesser version of him. So he's not the same species. So if God, or the creator, as they believe, is the creator of man, then God is not human. God can't be human. Right or wrong? Right? God cannot be human. So that just goes to show you that they're not. You see? So that just means what I've been saying, a whole different speed. And you look at us, like I said, who when I say that, is it really hard to accept based on what you see? Are we the same as these Caucasians, Asians, East Indians, Hindus, these people with the straight hair? Are we the same, or are we a totally different species of people? I mean, let's just keep it real. Look at us and look at them. How are you going to say we all the same? Are we human? We all the same race? We are not. You can clearly see we're not part of the human race. We're a totally different species, right or wrong. Can't you see that? That we're not the same as them. That's why the Israelites, when they say that nonsense about Esau and Jacob and how Jacob came out black and Esau came out red and hairy, well, I guess they say a white man. How that happened? How that happened? You got to believe that we're the same. You could clearly see we're not the same. You could clearly see that we're not the same as the humans. Like, you gotta, in order for you to say that, that's the same people that believe we got black skin. When you got people that say stupid stuff like that we all the same, if that's the case, then why is there such thing as racism? If we all human beings, why is there such thing as racism? Don't say it has anything to do with skin color, because the Hindus, who are just as dark as us, the white man don't give them no problem. They was owning liquor stores in the 60s and the 70s. They was owning liquor stores down in places like Mississippi. Go look at the movie Mississippi Masala. They didn't treat them Hindus with dark skin or straight hair like how they was treating black Americans, so-called black people down there in Mississippi. Look at that movie Mississippi Masala with Denzel Washington when he was dealing with the Indian chick, the Hindu. So it's not a skin color thing. It's an actual species thing, a race thing. The white man knows that we're not part of the human race. The Caucasians know we are not a part of the human race. We are totally different species from them. That's why there's a such thing as racism. Now, again, does that not make sense? Yes or no? Does that not make sense? Yes or no? Tell me if that we using our logical and rational thinking. We're not going by no belief. You ain't got to believe nothing I say. I don't want you to. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to think. I'm not here to make you believe nothing. I'm here like, I'm not taking that term from Dane Calloway. I was saying that first. I'm here to get my people to think. I was saying it before Dane Calloway, but I'm here to make my people think. I'm not here to get you to believe nothing. I want you to think. Are we the same as white people and all these other races of humans? Are we the same? Are we the same as these people? Yes or no? Are we the same? That we are totally different species of people, that we are totally different race of people. Can't you see that? Now you get the Muslims and all them people that come in here and believe that, oh, brother, where you getting this from? I can think. I don't have to get it from anywhere. See, that's the problem with a lot of these groups is they were not being allowed to think. They had to believe things. Even if it didn't make no sense, they were believing things because they felt like they could just overlook the totality of what they are teaching, because they liked the structure and the order. But here's the thing. We will not be able to sustain a real structure and order long term as a people if we are just accepting beliefs and accepting things that make no sense. See, when we accept things that make no sense, then what happens? What happens when we accept things that make no sense? We start to lose mentally. We start to devolve mentally, which is what you see in black people doing in the churches and stuff like that. They devolving mentally. That's why in the church, and I'm about to wrap this up because we 75 minutes in. That's why in the church, you see all this degeneracy in the church, because in the church, they telling you that, the law is done away with. There's no law. You could be a sodomite in the church. You could be a boy lover. You could be a weirdo, a freako. You could mix your seed with all these other races out here. You see, this is the thing that is, the things that are missing, because you're being told to accept things and don't judge nothing. Don't judge. Whereas, movements like the Nation of Islam at one time on the island with Elijah Muhammad, they were judging and doing that, but they were only at a minimal ability to judge, because still they were working off of belief. Belief is all they had back then. So I understand that all they had, all their foundation was a belief system. It was good for the time, but we too old to believe things anymore. We done grew up. Well, we should have grew up. And if my people ain't grew up in here, I'm here to raise my people up. I'm here to grow my people up. We ain't see, only children believe things. Children believe things. I'm going to say it again. Only children believe things. I'm not here to teach children. Black people, unfortunately, still have the minds of children. That's why they believe in a white Jesus. That's why they believe in a white God. That's why they believe in like I said, in a Yakub story. You see, that like I said, it's shaky. Or any of this stuff that's being taught, it dumbs our people down. And again, it was given to our people because our teachers, though, a lot of them, they had good intention. They just didn't have the knowledge, the logic to carry what they were saying. They didn't have it. We got it now. We have it in our community, in the Republic of America. We have that as First Americans. We have the knowledge of who we are as First Americans. We have the knowledge of who we are as the first people on earth, the Amun race. We have our own knowledge that was for us. Mentellect is for us. Islam is not for black people. Islam, you could call Islam anything you want because they say that that's their teaching is Islam, but that's up for debate because Islam was around before the Nation of Islam. And because they call themselves a Nation of Islam and claim they were teaching Islam, again, you're teaching a belief under the name Islam that doesn't make that Islam. You see, that's why, again, y'all say Fard came and taught y'all a greater knowledge. I'm like, if he was going to teach you a greater knowledge, it should have been called something other than Islam because people were already learning forms of Islam. He even claimed to come out of Saudi Arabia. So what was the real God, so-called God knowledge that black people was getting? First of all, you call them black people, you call them Negro. That's not who we are. We First American. We American Indigenous. We the only real Americans here. So that knowledge should have been based on that. But that was a time that has come and gone. The next movement is the Republic of America worldwide, ROA worldwide. Join the Republic of America worldwide, become a First American. We are First Americans of the Republic of America. We are First Americans, the only real Indigenous American, because first means only. We are First Americans of the Republic of America. We acknowledge who we are as First Americans of the Amun race. We acknowledge who we are as First Americans and only that. We don't go by black no more because we don't have black skin. We're not going by things that don't make no sense no more. We're not going off no belief. We're not going by black no more because we don't have black skin. We're not going by African American no more because we didn't come from no Africa. Nobody brought us on no cargo slave ships. When they talk about the transatlantic slave trade, they were bringing Africans, the few Africans they brought them into places like South America and into the islands, which is why you see a lot of those African religions over there in those places. You don't see them here in North America. They brought Africans over there into South America and into the islands. They dropped some of them off and they mixed in with the people. They didn't bring them here into North America. That's a lie. That is a lie. They tell that lie to try to, offset the reality of who we are as First Americans of America. And we have to build a foundation based on truth, not on nobody's beliefs, aka lies. So we have the Republic of America worldwide for all of our American Indigenous people all over the world, our bronze skin people, because we have bronze skin, copper-colored bronze skin, as in the 1828 Merriam-Webster Dictionary definition of American. We acknowledge that is our people that's being talked about, not the so-called Native Americans. See, the Nation of Islam still believe that the Native Americans are indigenous to America. They are not. That's a lie. They don't know their history. How you going to teach people if you don't even know the real history of those people? How you going to teach us about our people if you don't know the real history of our people? Or you going off of his belief? And again, no disrespect. I understand that that's what they had back then, but we're in the next time now. So those of our people who are coming into the knowledge, again, if anybody wants to debate this, I'm going to open up a debate. If somebody from the Nation of Islam wants to debate this reality, because we dealing with reality here. We're not dealing with no fantasy and no beliefs no more. We done grew up already. We're not going to keep acting like children and believe in stuff that people, all these wise tales and all this. No, we too grown for it. We too grown to believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. We need the real truth in order to go forward. The real truth is we are Americans, First Americans, and we have our own American community. We have our own American names. We have our own American language. My name, Benjamin Manhattan, is American. It's American because I, an American, took that name. So I'm acknowledging that. So those of you who want to learn more about our community, our American community, not no black community, not no African American community, but those of you who want to learn more about our community, go to ROA Worldwide, ROA Worldwide, and register to become a First American. We have our own laws, our own First American Constitution. We have our own laws. One of the biggest laws that we don't do is we don't eat pork as one of our dietary laws. We don't eat no pork as First Americans of the Republic of America. We do not partake in any swine. We follow a dietary law. We don't eat swine. We don't eat no damn catfish. We gonna about to start really following a stricter diet. We don't eat no garbage. We are very healthy people who we eat clean as First Americans. We eat clean. Yes, we do eat meat, but we don't eat no pork. We don't eat no catfish. We don't eat no damn garbage. We don't eat garbage. You see? So, and reason why we do that is because the first Americans didn't eat pig. The real American Indians did not eat pig. So people might say, oh, brother, you got that from the Nation of Islam and Muslims without eating pork. That's not true. You do know that American Indians, the real American Indians, not the Native Americans, the real American Indians did not eat pork. All people didn't eat pork. You know why you know that? Because there was no pigs in America. Pigs were brought into America by the Euro-Spanish. The Spanish, the Caucasian Spanish, because that's what they ate. They ate pork. They brought pigs here and was breeding pigs. And they brought pigs on ships. And you know how pigs breed real fast. So they were breeding pig farms. There were no pig farms when our people were here. We was eating buffalo. We was eating bison, fish, and chicken. Oh, excuse me, turkey. We was eating turkey, fish, and bison. We were the first ones to do the barbecue. The barbecue come from our people, so we didn't eat no pig. We started eating pig because that was forced on us on the plantation, and that was a way the white man, basically being a devil, was forcing pig on our people because our people didn't eat pig, but that's all they had. So we started eating pig because that's all we had. We was eating chicken feet. They was taking all the giving us the worst parts of the pig to eat. They really was just degrading our people. That's how we started eating pork. So whenever you hear about that soul food diet, that's a slave diet that they got on the plantation. Pig is part of the slave diet. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Muslims was right in not getting our people to stop with the pork, and we continuing that on as First Americans. We don't touch pig. We don't mix our seed with the other races of people. We don't do that. We ain't into race mixing at all. We stay with other First Americans. We're not into race mixing. Right? We have our own First American Constitution. We bear witness that we are a race of lords, a high race of supreme beings, what we descend from as that race known as Amen. We acknowledge that we're not part of the human existence or the human race. We have our own path of evolution and trajectory, which we came on the earth. And because we got intertwined with everybody else, that's where we lost our way. But we are detangling ourselves from everybody else as those people who call themselves human, because these people they have been showing from the time we came in contact with them that we're not what they are. That's why they go against our people. That's why they have a hatred for our people. Okay? That's why. So I'm going to say this. We have a real teaching that we stand on. We have a real foundation in the Republic of America, which is Mentellect. Mentellect is our foundation in the Republic of America as First American. We have we coming out with our own First American Constitution, our own First American dietary book, all that. We got our own First American Book of Names that's only going to be for members in our community as First Americans. Our women, we have our own section for our women, our own section for men. So we took things, that was about the evolution and the upliftment of our people, and we used our same structure because, again, in our community, the NOI is ROA. The Muslim is the First American. The Constitution is our Quran. The First American Constitution is our Quran. You see, I'm just, our book, that's our our flag is our national and international American flags, because the U.S. flag is the United States flag. It's not an American flag, because George Washington and the founders of the U.S. government are not Americans. They are Englishmen. So they can't put their flag on, they can't plant no flag in America, even though they did, but that's a European flag. That's a United States flag. That's not an American flag, because those people are not American. The only Americans is us, and we just saying that, and we keeping it that way in our community. Again, we say first American because, a lot of people are calling themselves American, but they're not American. We would love to just say American, but we have to make the distinction as to separate ourselves from the Native Americans because we ain't got nothing to do with them. We're not part of what they doing. The Native Americans came second. They came from Siberia. Okay? So we're not aligned with the so-called Native Americans. We are first Americans only. We're not aligning with black anymore. We bronze people. We use the S, not the Z. We're bronze skin people. The reality, we're dealing with actual facts. We're not dealing with no beliefs. I know the Nation of Islam wanted to be dealing with actual facts, but they was dealing with a lot of belief. It is what it is. People might have an issue with it, but like I said, that just because you don't like what I'm saying don't mean it's not the truth. It is the truth. It's the real truth, logical truth. Truth is based in logic, not in belief, not in what you want it to be, not in how you feel about it. The hell with how you feel. The hell with how you feel. It's about what makes sense. It's about what's logical, what makes sense. And that's all I got. So, again, those of you who are interested in becoming a part of the next community, the American community, those of you who want to become a part of the American community as Americans, as first Americans, join the Republic of America. Go to our site, ROA Worldwide, ROA Worldwide, and become a registered member in the Republic of America. Become a first American. Be part of this evolution of our people. No more black, no more African American, no more Asiatic black man. We left that behind with the last millennium. We stand up for who we are as Americans. So come forward with us. Also, we doing our first American Street Music Festival in May of 2026, in the year of our Lord Amen. In the year of our Lord Amen, we doing the 2026. This year, we're doing the first American Street Music Festival in Atlanta at Rodney Cook Senior Park. We're doing the first American Street Music Festival in Atlanta at Rodney Cook Senior Park, celebrating who we are as first Americans. Again, it's time that we get out from up under that black nonsense, man, because we need to stand up as a real people, as a real people. Black is not real. Black people are not a real people. They all over the damn place. We stand up as Americans. That's it. First Americans. So go to our site. We need your help. Those of you who are listening, please donate. Please, those of you who are listening, those of you who are bearing witness to what we're saying, if you feel that what I'm saying is progressive, you want to see this go, we doing our festival in Atlanta. It's the second year we doing it. We rebranded as the first American Street Music Festival to celebrate who we are as first Americans of America. Not this ain't no African American thing. This ain't no black thing. Of course, it's all a bronze thing. Our people bronze skin. We ain't got nothing to do with the Native Americans. This is not celebrating them. They have their own origin stories from Siberia to America. They're not indigenous. We are indigenous to America. So we're celebrating our indigenous heritage here as first Americans of America. That's it. We're not celebrating ancient Egypt. We're not celebrating Kemet. We're not celebrating Africa. We celebrating who we are straight up as first Americans. That's it. So go to FASM Fest, FASM. Go to FASM Fest, FASMFEST.com. Please donate to this. We're trying to raise $24,000. It's coming along gradually, but we need your help. So go donate to that. Pledge to donate $10 or $20 a week to that to make that happen. I'm asking for our people because, again, we have to do things like this. We have to put on events like this so that we're announcing to the world that we're going to stand up as Americans, as first Americans. It's time we start standing up for who we are and stop letting people identify us and tell us that we from Africa and all that other BS. We're not listening to that garbage no more. Or somebody telling us that we foreigners in our own land. So join the Republic of America, ROA Worldwide, and also become a supporter of the first American Street Music Festival. Go to FASM Fest, FASMFEST. Please donate to this, FASMFest.com, FASMFEST.com. If you try to go to the Better World link on here, that's in the description, it probably won't take you nowhere because YouTube wants some hater stuff. They don't want us to be solicited for celebrating who we are as first Americans. So whatever. Yeah, so the FASM Fest is going to be, First American Street Music Festival is going to be in May 16th and 17th on a Saturday and Sunday at Rodney Cook Senior Park. We're going to have live music out there, live entertainment. We're going to have vendors out there. If you want to be a vendor out there, go to the site, go to fasmfest.com, go to FASMFEST.com to inquire about becoming a vendor, a sponsor, getting your business out there, because it's going to be streamed for 2 days live. We're going to have a good time. Like I said, we're going to have people coming out. We're going to bring in dancers and all that stuff. We're going to have some indigenous drummers out there. We're going to have live music. We're going to have performances out there. I'm going to be premiering my clothing line, Lord Manhattan. That's coming out. We're going to, upscale leisure wear. Going to have my company, Unlimited Epics, out there selling our epic books, so-called comic books. That's going to be out there. I'm sponsoring this along with other, but we still need your help. This is expensive to put on. We're raising $24,000. So Indigenous family, First American family, who are in alignment with what I'm saying, go to fasmfest.com, go to ROAworldwide.com, go and contribute. And those of you, please give this video a thumbs up, share it, give this video a thumbs up, share it. Like the video, subscribe to it. Also go to my other channel, the Realist channel under Buck Manhattan. I am Buck Manhattan. I am Benjamin, all up, same person. Go to the Realist channel under Buck Manhattan, Mr. Buck Manhattan. Become a subscriber to that. You can also go to my Mentellect Patreon. I'm on Patreon, Mentellect Patreon, dropping my knowledge every night. Knowledge is going up there, stuff I can't say on YouTube. Become a patron for $15 a month. So support. Also support the American Indigenous channel, Sister Enron Vanzetta Mentangela. Support her channel, the American Indigenous channel. Let's go. Let's do this. So thank you all. Thank you all for listening to me. Thank you all for letting us make this happen. All right, let's go. Let's do this. Yeah, that's all. I'm about to close this out. And Amen I trust, and Lord Amen I trust, and then Lord Amen I thank, and then Lord Amen we continue forward forever. What I want to close out with? I got to close out with some music. It's only right. What am I closing out with? I got to be careful. I got to watch what I play up here. Let me see. Good night. Thank y'all for listening. See y'all on Friday. See you live on Friday.
We should stay right here a little longer. Barely get to see each other. We can spend the weekend on the water. Even let you take me under. Know you're usually all work, no play. Glad you came. You should stay until Saturday. 'Cause you ain't gotta work tomorrow anyway. Do it, babe. Sweet Saturdays. I got you all to myself on Saturdays. Oh yeah, babe. I can make you breakfast in the morning. Time we're spending's way too overdue. Drinking like we know where this is going. No, I'm gonna be all on go for you. We're both usually all work, no play. Glad you came. Hope you stay until Saturday. 'Cause you ain't gotta work tomorrow anyway. Do it, babe. Oh, sweet Saturday. 'Cause I got you all to myself